What's up everybody, welcome back to the College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode series on my channel, featuring of course Coach Carter, and today we'll be finishing up the final off-season of Coach Carter's final season at the reins of the UT Martin Skyhawks. Since taking over this struggling program 5 seasons ago, Ken Carter has accumulated over 100 wins, 2 conference championships, and 2 Conference Coach of the Year awards. Ken Carter has done a lot for this program, but the biggest fish that's been difficult to catch is his first NCAA Tournament victory. I counted your votes in the previous episode, and as always, I really appreciate the feedback from you guys, and it wasn't really up for debate. You guys sounded off in the comments, feeding for one last chance at a March Madness victory, and Coach Carter will sign a 1-year extension with UTM today and begin his final off-season. We recapped a good amount of the off-season actually already in the previous episode, so if you missed that, check the Legacy Mode playlist in the description of this video. We're going to recap the awards, the coaching carousel, off-season recruiting, and our schedule for Season 6, and at the end of the video we'll be jumping into the Midnight Madness Scrimmage to get a preview of the UT Martin roster that'll be replacing 3 starters for Season 6. Without further ado, let's jump into the awards around the nation. Georgia Tech, the 11th-seed Yellow Jackets, had a shocking come-from-behind victory in the national championship against Kansas. We watched that game last episode. The Yellow Jackets become the highest seed ever to win the Natty and become only the 4th team to win it with double-digit losses in a season, so there you go. I think that fits my useless basketball knowledge quota for today as we'll move on. 6'2" point guard from Wisconsin, Courtney Avery wins Player of the Year. Mid-Major Player of the Year goes to Sherrod Foy. We'll be seeing his name a lot in these awards. Coach K will win Coach of the Year. A little bit surprising they didn't give it to the Georgia Tech coach. Nonetheless, we'll move on. Defensive Player of the Year and Big Man of the Year both go to Sherrod Foy. Pretty surprising there, as the NIU big fella walks away with a lot of hardware. Severin Harris, freshman 2 guard, wins Freshman of the Year for Syracuse. First team All-American, we got Cameron Gwynn, point guard from UNC, Courtney Avery again. Texas A&M represented by Jonah Ford, Andrew Brodnow, 6'7" senior at Ole Miss, and Sherrod Foy once again. Second team All-American, Kalen Sessoms from Florida State, Desi Wofford, and we also have Isa Diakati from Iona. So, an MAAC player makes it on to second team All-American. Raheem Suttle from Notre Dame and Vaughn Gomes, the Auburn big man. 24 points a game round out the All-American list. Now, freshman All-American, we got Devin Abram from Kansas State. Syracuse has Severin Harris, Stedman Travis from Virginia Tech, Denzel Flowers, and Griffin Carrington. So that'll wrap up the NCAA awards. Let's hop into the Ohio Valley Conference Awards, where of course UT Martin, they're conference champions for the second time in Coach Carter's 5-year tenure, and we really just have to find out what more can we do here. 26-6, 18-2 in the conference. Those are both school records that Coach Carter broke this season. 13 seed in March Madness. We fell short to Kansas, and of course we have to replace 3 starters this season, so just trying to find out what's the next step for UT Martin in this upcoming Season 6, Coach Carter's last dance. Conference Coach of the Year for the 3rd time in a row, Ken Carter will hoist that distinction. Won it in Season 3 despite not winning the conference, Season 4, and now Season 5 as well. Conference Player of the Year, Sebastian Farley. Unfortunately, Farley, he's been one of the best players in the conference for a couple years now, but he's going to end his senior year on the injured list. We played Murray State in the conference playoffs, but Farley broke his leg near the end of the season, which it was tough to see a guy that you've competed against for the last 4 years not able to complete his college career in the basketball sense. Devin Alati, Conference Freshman of the Year for Murray State. They got a few really young, bright pieces for the future. First team All-Conference, we got Kareem Hernandez. Jacques Diggs becomes the 3rd Skyhawk to make first team All-Conference under Coach Carter. We had Chris Fay back in Season 3, Marcus Saunders in Season 4, and now Jacques Diggs makes it in Season 5. Brendan Lennox, Sebastian Farley, and Seneca Lopez all joined Diggs on first team All-Ohio Valley. Second team is highlighted by Jaden King Jr., who graduates, Micah Foreman, the former Florida State transfer from Murray State, he's graduating as well, Mitchell Lane, the only underclassman on any of these lists for Southeast Missouri, Nate Stinson, and Justin Slater, those two frontcourt pieces will graduate for their respective teams. Freshman all-conference, Theron Jones on EKU, who looks like he's going to be a very solid player for years to come, Stephon Childs, Xavier O'Donnell, Carlos Ames, and Devin Alati round out the freshman all-conference. So, moving on. We'll take a gander at the coaching changes around the NCAA, and perhaps that's why Coach K won Coach of the Year. He's actually going to retire, and Oral Roberts, his coach, will step in at the Duke Blue Devils basketball program, and Loyola Marymount is replaced by S. Miles with a 500 career record in 56 career games. I wasn't able to see where he coached previously, and Delaware was also replaced by somebody who I couldn't check where he coached in the past. And of course, if you guys saw last episode, Loyola Marymount and Delaware, the two frontrunners to try to get Coach Carter to take the reins of the program. But of course, one more season here in UT Martin land, as Tennessee Martin cannot have any transfer luck this offseason. Darnay Betancourt was our transfer last season, who will probably be our starting point guard. And as we move on, we will take a look at offseason recruiting, where Coach Carter's actually had some pretty tough luck finding recruits for season 6. And this was the main player that Coach Carter really wanted, 7-footer Samuel Barnett, who inked with the Wofford Terriers. He's a 7-footer with a great inside game, can stretch the floor too, and a B+ handle rating. Whenever we watched him in AAU last offseason, he seemed like the type of guy who perhaps came into high school maybe 6'3" or 6'4" and played guard, and then he had a big growth spurt and became 7 foot seemingly overnight just because of how polished he was on offense. So that's a big miss. Then Kelvin Law, a JUCO freshman, he inks with Mississippi State, and he seemed like a really good balance of offense and defense. He hit his free throws at a very high level in JUCO ball last year. Dominic Mims was also another guy I was really intrigued with. Very electric player, probably would have played more 2 than the 1 at the college level, but overall a very speedy player who can give you a little bit of scoring at all 3 levels, and he becomes a UTEP minor. So Coach Carter's luck this season has been a little wishy-washy. In the past, he's had great luck finding recruits, guys who buy into the system, but this season we're finally starting to see a little bit of turbulence for Coach Carter in his recruiting battles. And since I showed you those guys, they're inking with different programs, we're going to take a look at where the board lies as Coach Carter's offseason recruiting heats up. So 5'10" point guard Brian Hill is the only notable prospect on Carter's board that is still unsigned. The flashy combo guard is from West Palm Beach, Florida, and the main reason why his signing looks unlikely is the fact that his number 1 priority is to stay close to home, and that's apparent with Florida Atlantic and Florida A&M sandwiching UT Martin at number 2 in the recruiting race. And with Rashawn Martin struggling last season as a sophomore, his ceiling doesn't seem to be very high, and thus UT Martin needs backcourt depth for season 6. Gill would be a great grab as he looks to become a spark plug for a bench unit that sometimes struggle to put up points in UT Martin. Gill is lightning quick and can play either guard spot. He can score from all 3 levels on offense as well. He seems like a Brandon Jennings type of player, a very high volume shooter who's still pretty efficient and can score and facilitate in multiple ways. And Gill would be a great compensation prize after a tough recruiting season thus far. I really like Gill, and at one point it's funny because Gill looked like the least manageable player to grab with his interest of staying close to home, but with everybody else going different places, Barnett's, Kelvin Law, Dominic Mims, perhaps Gill is the most likely to sign with UTM. We'll have to find out. Prospect number 2 is Stephon Dobbins, a bruising 6'7" wing from Queens, New York. We didn't get to see Dobbins play in AAU ball last offseason, but on paper he has a very intriguing skill set. He is a very high motor and work ethic player, something that Coach Carter looks for in all of his players. And while Dobbins isn't the most gifted offensive player, he still has a C+ 3-point rating. So he's far from a sniper, but can hit him when he's left open. And with B potential, the ceiling is sky high for Stephon, perhaps molding into a solid 3-and-D player for years to come. UT Martin is behind St. Peter's College, who's in New York, in the recruiting race for Dobbins. And Coach Carter has had 3 scholarships to hand out, so we're going to highlight the top 3. And the third man on Ken Carter's board is 7-footer Quinn Wilkerson. The 7'2" Dominique Cleveland has been an adequate backup for a few seasons now in UTM, but now he's a senior, and Quinn Wilkerson could redshirt a season and then step into Cleveland's shoes after Dominique hangs up his sneakers. Wilkerson doesn't seem like he has much to offer on day one. He does have good hands though, and finding a 7-foot-plus player with soft hands is a hard thing to do, and that's shown with his C hands rating and B steal rating. Wilkerson is a big project player, but Coach Carter has worked with projects like Wilkerson before and molded them into pretty solid players. And with B+ potential, Quinn could become even better than Cleveland, who knows? UT Martin trails Ohio Valley Conference opponent Southeast Missouri State for Wilkerson's services. Well, it's the moment of truth now. We're going to head back to the calendar, sim a little bit further in the offseason. Brian Gill, Quinn Wilkerson, Stephon Dobbins, and Cedric Wyatt, another wing that I added. Let's see who wants to commit to UT Martin as Coach Carter tries to salvage this very tough offseason recruiting, and Brian Gill comes to UT Martin. He doesn't care about staying close to home. Who told you that? Not me, for sure not. As Brian Gill comes to UT Martin, he is a huge signing after all the tough luck we've had. Looks like a guy who can score at all 3 levels, good free throw shooter, lightning quick, basically everything that we talked about. Great passing rating. He has kind of a skill set similar to Jacques Diggs in a sense. And I think Brandon Jennings is a very good pro comparison to Brian Gill. Expect to see him play some point and some 2. I feel like when he comes off the bench, he'll be more of a 2 with Rashawn Martin at the 1. But if Brian Gill checks in early, we may see Darnay Betancourt move to the 3, Diggs at the 2, and Brian Gill at the 1. So right now with the acquisition of Gill and Darnay Betancourt coming off a redshirt transfer season, it's very flexible at guard spots 1 and 2 and the wing position. But the luck kind of runs out for Ken Carter outside of Brian Gill. Stephon Dobbins goes to St. Peter, stays close to home in New York. Quinn Wilkerson goes to our rival in Ohio Valley Conference play, Southeast Missouri State. And then Cedric Wyatt, he's another 2-star wing I just put on the board to try to fill up a scholarship, and he decides to ink with Sacramento State. So some tough luck there. Only 1 player in this recruiting class for UT Martin. As we move on to the off-season schedule. Very interesting schedule Coach Carter has put together for the final season of Skyhawk Hoops. And to open up Season 6, we got one more matchup against the Memphis Tigers, 1-1 all time against probably our biggest rivals throughout this entire season. Memphis had a 1 seed in Season 5's March Madness tournament. They come in ranked 15th this season, and we're 1-1 all time against the Memphis Tigers. It all started back in Season 3 when we lost to them in March Madness in the first round of Coach Carter's first ever NCAA tournament game. Then we played them the next season on Christmas Day, beat them on their home floor. They weren't as good, but this season they're coming off a 1 seed in Season 5's March Madness, of course, so it's going to be a very tough game at the FedEx Forum. And then our home opener against the Wofford Terriers, who took Coach Carter's most prized prospect in Season 5's recruiting races, Samuel Barnett, and he's starting day 1 at center for Wofford. So that's a very interesting home opener matchup. Then we face Chattanooga. We're going to be favored in that one pretty heavily. Then on the road for 2 of our last non-conference games to open up the slates at Maryland, who's in the top 25, and East Tennessee State before opening up 2 more road games to begin conference play. Then we got 24 ranked Oregon smack dab in the middle of our entire conference schedule. We faced them a day after Christmas, and then for the rest of the season, it's going to be all conference opponents. So we're going to be going through Season 6 a lot quicker than the previous seasons. We're going to be simulating a lot more just so we can knock it out and make another run to the postseason. So the ABL, you guys know AAU, every season I do a big, special on the top prospects on Coach Carter's board heading into the next season, and we watch some game film, break down their strengths and weaknesses of each prospect. But for this offseason, since this is our last season at UT Martin, I'm just going to skip AAU ball and we're going to hop into the next season pretty quickly, because obviously our last season at UT Martin, recruiting is not going to play much of a factor, even if at all. So we're going to skip AAU and hop into the next season right now. And while we won't be hopping into any regular season action, we will be hopping into the kickoff scrimmage for the new year. We've had so much turnover. I think we've had more turnover in season 5 to 6 offseason than we have in any other offseason thus far of the Coach Carter College Hoops 2K Legacy mode. So we'll be hopping into the Midnight Madness scrimmage, the kickoff of a new season. Every school has their own way to celebrate, but with Coach Carter, you know him, he's very old school. We're going to be running the ones against the twos, starters versus bench. The projected lineups for the upcoming season: we got Darnay Betancourt, Jacques Diggs, Evan Schneiderman, Teron Gardner, and Blaine Fry in the home white jerseys, the starting 5 versus the 5 bench players that we'll be seeing a decent amount of this season: Rashawn Martin, Brian Gill, Dusty Harrison, Chauncey Cantrell, a former walk-on who's a senior this season who's trying to carve out a role, and a very thin front court rotation at UT Martin, and Dominique Cleveland. Those 5 will be wearing the navy blue road jerseys. And the clock has now struck midnight. We're ready to open up preseason practices with a little 5-on-5 old school, good old scrimmage, and winning the tip will be the bench unit thanks to 7'2" backup center Dominique Cleveland. Rashawn Martin, he gets the puppies organized here for the first possession of UT Martin basketball here this season in this exhibition scrimmage. Martin finds Brian Gill for the first shot attempt of the new season. No good. Blaine Fry collects the first rebound of the scrimmage. No surprise there. Our team leading rebounder from a season ago. The starters come up empty in their first trip on offense. Now Dusty Harrison from the elbow. Bounce pass. This one works around to Chauncey Cantrell, and the former walk-on senior who averages 1.4 points per game in his career. He will have the bragging rights of the first basket here in the preseason scrimmage. Very interesting. Chauncey Cantrell going one-on-one against Teron Gardner, one of the best defenders in the conference, as Darnay Betancourt, the 6'7" point guard, the Oklahoma transfer, will get the starters on the board now. 8:30 left to go. Dusty Harrison open, no good, but 5'10" Brian Gill, who's been playing some 2-guard tonight, as Rashawn Martin works the point guard position. He grabs an offensive rebound, and Harrison will then find Gill with a foot on the line to knock down a jump shot. I was surprised that Brian Gill's rebounding ratings were so high for a 5'10" guard, but he can crash the glass a little bit as well. 4-4 game is now where Rashawn Martin turns it over into the hands of Jacques Diggs, who then finds Betancourt out on the break. Very strong take by Darnay Betancourt. Dusty Harrison tacked for the foul. Betancourt will be heading to the line. Obviously 6'7" point guard Darnay Betancourt, like a Michael Carter Williams type player. Didn't really work out at Oklahoma, so he transfers here for a new beginning. The junior misses the free throw, and then of course Blaine Fry grabs his second rebound of the night to put it back in. 8-4 game, starters in control early. Brian Gill tries to go one-on-one against Blaine Fry, and it doesn't matter. Blaine Fry can guard all positions. 8-4 game, Betancourt then finds Diggs on the secondary break, and he knocks it through. Jacques Diggs, his first three-pointer of this season. Getting a little early glimpse at our new backcourt. Obviously, Diggs and Pierre Hamilton, who unfortunately graduated, they built up such a great rapport over the years. It's a question to be seen if Darnay Betancourt can create the same connection with Jacques Diggs as Pierre Hamilton had it. Nice post move there by Dominique Cleveland. 11-6 game now. The bench unit only down by 5 as Betancourt at the controls will find Blaine Fry at the elbow, throws up the pump, draws Schneiderman's man over to the painted area, and Evan Schneiderman trying to prove that he was not a one-hit wonder in the playoffs last season. Obviously, Schneiderman had a playoff run to remember in the Ohio Valley Conference playoffs a season ago. Seemingly out of nowhere, he averaged 15-5 in 3 games, and those 3 games pretty much single-handedly put the trust into Coach Carter, and he's giving Evan Schneiderman a starting role this season at the 3, replacing Luke Lawton. So with that basket by Teron Gardner, beautiful bounce pass by Jacques Diggs that will double the starters' lead here. We're about halfway through the first half. What a take there by Dusty Harrison. Nice bounce pass into Dominique Cleveland, who gets a little fancy with it in the painted area. 16-10 game, 4:30 left to go. Teron Gardner with the mismatch, and he continues to struggle through the first couple minutes. Dusty Harrison pokes it away as the bench unit with 2 baskets in a row. Let's see if they can make it a third. As Brian Gill, he's always looking to make a flashy play with the ball in his hands. And what a pass there inside to Chauncey Cantrell, the former walk-on, with 6 quick points against Teron Gardner. Very impressive for the former walk-on senior Cantrell, as Brian Gill will collect rebound number 3. Pretty impressive there. He continues to crash the glass. 3:38 left to go here in the preseason scrimmage. Rashawn Martin will then find the curling Harrison, who makes the extra pass to Brian Gill. And with the friendly bounce, Gill gets it to go. Man, Brian Gill is a fun player to watch. How do you cover that? With the friendly bounce. Expect to see Brian Gill play some point guard and some shooting guard. And honestly, with a preseason scrimmage like this, he might be able to weasel his way into the starting lineup a little bit. It is a very flexible rotation with Coach Carter, thanks to that man right there as well, Evan Schneiderman, as he knocks down three-pointer number 2, pushing the lead back to 4 and silencing a 7-0 bench run. 19 of 15 game, 2:35 left to go in the preseason scrimmage. Martin again works from the left wing, finds Brian Gill for another three-pointer. Brian Gill going back and forth with Schneiderman. 2 guys who have really taken the spotlight tonight in the preseason scrimmage, and Schneiderman is not done. Look how far he made that one, and then he points to Brian Gill saying, "What do you got, rookie? What do you got? Let's go to battle right now." 22-18 game. And once again, the bench running their offense through Gill as he curls off of a Chauncey Cantrell screen. And from the elbow, nice move, he puts on Jacques Diggs. And he earns more opportunities to score. He'll knock down 1 of 2 from the charity stripes. So 22-19 game as the bench is holding strong right now with the starting 5. As here we go with Darnay Betancourt. Look at that pass inside of Teron Gardner. A beautiful dish, but it's taken away by Chauncey Cantrell. And Dusty Harrison finishes off the fast break opportunity. The sophomore has his first points of the scrimmage. Obviously, Dusty Harrison looking to have a bigger role in the offense this season. And with a stop by the bench, they have got 1 more opportunity to score. And a little pick and pop between Martin and Gill. 3 seconds left. Gill from way downtown cannot take the lead as we head into the intermission. Very impressive 10 minutes there by the bench unit. A lot of assists. And it's been a very exciting first half of action from both sides. Schneiderman leads the starters with 9, and Brian Gill leads the bench with 9. Obviously, a lot of solid takeaways so far from both sides. We're going to hop into the second half of action, where we'll be now controlling the bench unit. Let's see if they can complete the upset here. And let's see if the bench unit has what it takes to earn bragging rights here. Seeing if they can knock down the starting 5 as Schneiderman puts on a very impressive move on Dusty Harrison. 11 points in 10 minutes for Schneiderman. Obviously, a big question mark for Schneiderman on the offensive end was, can he create his own shot? And we saw that a little bit in the playoffs last season when he had that big spurt there in those final 3 games. Schneiderman seems to be at his best when he can also put the ball on the floor. Back up to the bench unit. What a pass there by Brian Gill. No good from Harrison, but Chauncey Cantrell continues to crash the glass. 8 points, and 2 of his baskets have been on second chance opportunities. Teron Gardner, who had a very solid sophomore campaign, he works himself into the starting 5, but he's getting worked by the former walk-on Cantrell tonight. Very impressive showing by the senior as Blaine Fry receives a pass at the low post, and then we'll find Jacques Diggs completely left unattended there by Brian Gill. You can't be doing that as Jacques Diggs works up to points 6 and 7. 26-23 game, 2 minutes in to the second half of the preseason scrimmage, as Gill will then find Dusty Harrison to tie things back up at 26 apiece. The bench continues to hold firm as Harrison ties it up. Another assist by Brian Gill. He's doing it all tonight, passing, facilitating, even crashing the glass as well. 7:45 left to go, knotted up at 26. Betancourt goes back and forth with Evan Schneiderman, and in the face of Dusty Harrison, the 6'7 junior, Oklahoma Sooner transfer, Betancourt knocks down a 3. Even though he's not a sniper, he does have a 71 3-point rating and can knock them down when he's left open. So just another 3-point threat to add to this very potent UT Martin offense. And obviously the best threat from three on this team, Jacques Diggs, as he's starting to turn it on. He's got 10 points with the snap of a finger. So we're more than halfway through this preseason scrimmage as the starters continue to create some distance from the bench unit and start to pull away. 14 points for Schneiderman, 4 of 4 from three. Betancourt with assist number 4. Obviously got to be very impressed with Schneiderman, but he does foul Dusty Harrison on the 3-point attempt. Harrison will knock down 2 for 3, as Dusty Harrison, obviously a big question mark going forward. He didn't have the freshman campaign we all thought he would. He was our best freshman prospect heading into season 5 last season, and he shot 50% from 3 a season ago, but only around 40% from the entire field. So he's going to have to work on becoming more dynamic on offense, as he'll probably be playing a lot more small forward than shooting guard off the bench for UT Martin. So 2:44 left to go as Schneiderman is not done. 3-pointer number 5 for Schneiderman. He's been the most explosive player on the floor tonight, and the starters starting to finally create some breathing room. 2:25 left to go. The bench with their backs against the wall as Brian Gill will spot up in the corner. Beautiful pass by Cleveland as Brian Gill and Evan Schneiderman have combined for 32 points tonight. And the bench not going away quietly either. We're under 2 minutes to go. We only have a couple more highlights to show in the preseason scrimmage. Roshan Martin finds Harrison at the high post. What a pass inside as Chauncey Cantrell again gets the better of Gardner. He's 5 for 5. Unbelievable showing for Chauncey Cantrell. I don't think anybody ever expected Cantrell to have that kind of performance. But with 1:32 left to go, Dominique Cleveland gets burned on the backdoor feed by Teron Gardner. And look at this pass by Darnay Betancourt. That's assist number 5 for him tonight. And overall, the starters, they pull away, but the bench really held tough. Great team play from the second units. 50-41 in a very exciting and really electric overall first glance at this season 6 roster, and there's a lot of takeaways from this game. Darnay Betancourt was really all up to expectation. He's not a guy that's going to put up 20 points a night, but a guy who can shoot and score when the opportunity presents itself at a very high level. And he also recorded 8 assists as the new point guard for season 6. Jacques Diggs, obviously he didn't have the best performance, 3 for 10 shooting, and he got lit up by Brian Gill, honestly. But at the same time, you know Diggs, first team all conference last season, no need to worry. Evan Schneiderman was 17, man, 5 for 5 from beyond the arc. Is this the proof that Evan Schneiderman is not a one-hit wonder? Is he really here to compete to be one of the top scorers on this team after being so complacent and redshirting a year? This is one of the best turnarounds we've ever seen in this series. Teron Gardner, he put it on a little bit at the end of the scrimmage, but really it was kind of a forgettable night for him. There's some question marks about Gardner in the starting lineup. Obviously, he's been super efficient and really probably the best bench player for UT Martin in the past 2 seasons, but at the same token, he has had some starting time here and there over the years to replace Chris Fay, who was sometimes injured, and he really didn't do as well in the starting lineup as he did off the bench. So that's something to monitor going forward. And Blaine Fry, nearly a double-double. I mean, what more can you ask from probably the best defender in the entire Ohio Valley Conference? Moving to the bench now. We'll start with Roshan Martin, who was kind of invisible, and that kind of sums up his first year on campus. I keep forgetting he wasn't a freshman last year, he was a JUCO transfer. He's now a junior, and honestly, with this kind of performance, I know he was going up against 6'7" Betancourt, but this doesn't bode well for Martin going forward. With the emergence of Brian Gill tonight, 15, 4, and 3. Everything you thought Brian Gill was going to be, he was tonight. He was absolutely electric. Moving on to Dusty Harrison, he had a great second half trying to make a comeback in this game. He had 8 of his 12 points in the second half, along with a couple really nice assists as well. He had 2 threes, but also 2 baskets in transition, so hopefully we're starting to see Harrison round out his offensive game, becoming more of a complete player. Chauncey Cantrell was the surprise of the night, averaging 1.4 points per game in his first 3 seasons on campus. He put in the work and showed up Teron Gardner And with so many question marks in the front court in terms of the depth that we have this season, with no more Chris Fay and not really getting anybody in recruiting to replace anybody else, I mean, Cantrell might have earned himself a spot in the rotation moving forward. And Dominique Cleveland, pretty solid nights. This is pretty much what you expect. 2 baskets and 2 attempts and a couple rebounds here and there. All in all, this was a fun off-season video. Thanks for joining me today on the channel. Leave down your comments. What do you guys think we should do with the rotation? I mean, with Betancourt, Martin, Harrison, Schneiderman, and Diggs being recruited originally as a point guard, there's a lot we can do. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is a very fun episode, and next time we'll be opening up Season 6, the final season of UT Martin basketball, against our old rivals, the Memphis Tigers, trying to see who will win the overall series. It's 1-1. Who will win Game 3 and win bragging rights moving forward? It's going to be a great season, guys. I cannot wait to jump into it with you guys, and thanks for coming by today. Stay tuned for Season 6 coming up right around the corner.